want to.
Hello everybody. Today is a special day. This is a culmination of my work over the last 12 years. Actually, it's a lifetime, but last 12 years I've been dealing with this knowledge that I call the secret. Well, today it's not going to be a secret anymore. Maybe to some, because if a person doesn't understand it, it will still remain kind of a secret. The clip that you just watched actually contains the whole secret, but I will spend the next hour to condition your mind to accept and understand something that it doesn't really is not designed to. And we'll come back to that clip. I'll play it again. Just a short background. So I met this psychic in Israel about 35 years ago, and 12 years ago, he said to me, he said, you know something that nobody does, but you are alone. And what he implied is basically that, I'll die with it because it's impossible to tell it. People won't get it. And I, spent the last 12 years preparing for this moment that I will build enough. First, I'll bring the right people to start this thing, and then I'll build enough, build a foundation so it can be understood, and it's not going to sit in my mind for forever. That psychic, I'll just show you a quick picture of him. That's him. And I've been in contact with him over the almost 40 years, and he's quite an amazing personality. Actually, he got me into this whole spiritual trip because what he was telling me at the very beginning was so amazing and unbelievable that I decided to figure out, where does he get it from? And, so this is what I spent the last 35 years on, trying to figure out how does he get that kind of knowledge. So here we are. It's like a staircase that I've been climbing, and much longer than that, but it wouldn't fit on my screen. So now we are at the door, and today I started to open it, as you can see in the picture. All right. Yes, once in a while I have to glimpse in my notes here because this is a long video and a tremendous amount of information here. And, as I normally do, I use metaphors and I use all kind of examples and analogies so that I can transfer things that sometimes are not possible to think about. But I still bring them into words. It's like, I have done over 70 videos, which is by itself unbelievable. When I saw that on YouTube, I couldn't believe it. I was looking, went to look at the number, and each one of them is like one of those steps that I showed you in the picture before. And that was, I guess, to prepare you and me, and to try to digest this information, knowledge that I'm bringing today. It's since it dawned on me what he was saying, because when he said that, I didn't really know what he's talking about. it just after a while I realized, or it's actually more correct to say after a while, that information landed in my mind. It just came out of nowhere. And it became like a splinter in my mind that I couldn't get rid of. And now I'm going to transfer that splinter into your mind. So about this book, secret, video, the whole thing, I'll give you some information before, and I'll give you a lot of information after. Just so you understand my subjective understanding of this knowledge, I'll tell you what I think. And it, as usual, it will be up to you to decide how you think about it. But I believe that this will answer 99% of all the questions asked by religion, science, and by our souls. Okay? Or maybe 100%. It is something that I don't believe any biblical personality, whether it's Moses or any of the prophets or Jesus, had no knowledge of. And I think that it's more important than any prophecy in the Bible. Okay? So this is how I view this, because of what I understand comes out of it. Again, it will be totally up to you to make that decision, and it may take you a long time, few months, to actually get to the bottom of this thing. But I believe it's like the COVID. Once it's out there and it infects 1 or 2 or 3 people, it will go all over. It's the same power. The only problem might be that many of you are immune to this, meaning that our mind was created in such a way that we don't comprehend this stuff on purpose. And my job here and in the book, which will be way, way more detailed, here I'm not going into any details, is actually to bypass your immune system, just like the COVID does with chemicals. Well, I do it with words. Now, I think that for that reason also, it is your duty to spread this knowledge once you get it, whether by sharing this video or talking about it or creating your own lectures or videos or whatever. But that needs to go around, because it will change the world eventually. And the reason, by the way, that I'm doing it all of a sudden, because I procrastinated for a few years now. I was saying that I'll do the book, I'll do this, I'll do that, and I never came up with it. It was very hard for me. But what happened in the last month, at least the way I perceive it, the programmer basically gave me an ultimatum. He said, either you do it or you're going to die. And he put something in front of me that's actually life-threatening, but reversible. So this is where I am right now. And because of my belief in what I'm talking here, it doesn't affect me like I'm not afraid. I don't have any fear. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to make this video in this condition. But I don't have any emotional baggage because of this problem. And it's a very serious one. Okay? So just to show you how powerful this is for me, because I understand it, and it will do the same thing for you. In this video, actually, I'm condensing about 200 pages of the book that I'm not done yet. I will have it published in the fall. And in the book, I will bring all the details of what it means and how it all came about. And it will be, a lot of it will be the timeline of a timeless God. I actually was going to name the book that way, but apparently putting God in the title probably chase away a large number of potential viewers. So, All right. So let's dive right into it. And forgive me if I have some glitches here because I have many videos and pictures that I'm going to insert in here. And, you know, it's like a big orchestra that I have to direct here. But we are not in a rush, so I'll do it. You see, we take material reality for granted because this is all we know, right? We were born into it, and our ancestors were born into it, and basically everybody, except maybe, you know, if you believe in creation, then Adam maybe and Eve were not born into material reality, or at least they had the transition, right? And the thing is that what if you were just consciousness and never experienced material reality? You're just consciousness. I use the metaphor of being in a coma where you have no senses, but your mind is, you know, you're totally aware and totally conscious, but you are in a coma and your 5 senses are disabled. So let's say you never experienced a physical reality. You don't know what such a thing is. Now, could you come up with the idea of physical reality? Think about it. Because that shows you the greatness of the programmer, of the ability of God, programmer, to come up from nothingness and come up with this kind of a idea of a physical reality. This is not comprehensible. It shows you the greatness of that consciousness, right? So you see, in our reality, and I'm not saying universe or world because they are all in our reality, right? We whatever reality we comprehend, everything that exists is in it. There is only one thing that exists really, anywhere, anytime, call it whichever way you like, and this is just consciousness. Nothing else exists, never existed and never will. Okay? And as we go along here, you will understand why I'm saying that, because right now it probably doesn't make any sense, right? And if you ask and say, well, look, we live in a material reality here, and everything we do is material and matter, right? I'm holding this, and I can feel it, it's matter, and so on. So let me give you a little metaphor here that I used in previous videos. I call it the iPad line. And it will give you a little bit of insight how this interface between matterless consciousness and material reality connect and work together, okay? So watch this. And I'm going to show you this on the screen of an iPhone rather than using my drawing board because I want you to see it from the outside, the way I look at it, okay? So I will switch here to my little camera, and there is the iPhone here sitting on the desk, as you can see, and I'm going to show you something very interesting. I'm in a program here where you can draw with your finger, you see on the screen, and I'm going to draw a line. All right? Now I'm going to ask you, did I just draw a line on this screen? This is the physical reality, that screen, okay? And you will say, yes, it's right there. It's blue. Okay. So I will tell you, no, I didn't draw that line. What I've actually done is I ran my finger over the screen, which has millions of sensors connected to the central processing unit of this phone. And those sensors sensed where my finger was touching, okay? At that time, there was no line, because if we spread the time, this is very fast, so it looks to you like in real time. But if you stretched it, if we stretch that time, you would see that after I pass my finger, there would be no line yet. It would come later. Because what happens then, that computer in the phone has a program, which is this note-taking program, right? And the program says to it, okay, whenever that finger touched on the sensor, put a little blue dot. And then he puts millions of little dots there, which to our eye looks like a solid line, and it draws it on the screen, right? Let me come back here. So in reality, and I use the word reality in different connections, but in reality, I did not draw that line, okay? It's the computer that drew the line. And this concept is extremely important for you to understand, because everything you do in this physical reality is drawing a line, okay, which goes to the collective consciousness, call it whatever you want, and it comes back and draws it on your physical screen. Okay, so if you take this pen again, right, and I put it on the desk here, it looks like I put it on the desk, but I didn't. I just created that action in my consciousness, and it came back through particles and quantum physics and the whole, like I called it, the brush that Gaz uses to paint this reality is quantum physics and the particles, okay? So that's very important to comprehend. That, by the way, also means that you can create any reality you want, but that's a different discussion. It's not for this video. I have a previous video that I explain how that line is actually created, because it's created by your subconscious and your consciousness. And as long as they don't agree, that line is not going to carry your wishes. That's why you cannot create the reality you want. It's only when you can connect your heart and your mind, like it says in Reality Transurfing. Okay? All right. So, by the way, synchronicity, yes, happens because of the same reason. Because your mind, through that line, because there is no really matter, so your mind can create everything through that line. And once in a while, it creates this synchronicity, something that all of a sudden is not supposed to be there, but it happens because you thought about it. Okay? Anyway, all those things I explain in other videos, so here I'm not really into it. I just want to give you some background to understand how physical reality is created, so you understand that there is nothing physical. There's only consciousness. Okay? So you see, there's two theories about how this universe was created. Two main theories. There is also others, but maybe aliens and things like that. Somebody just sent me here, I think it was a message a few minutes ago, that aliens has the word lie in it, L-I-E. It was interesting timing. So there's two theories, okay? There's the Big Bang theory, which is the physical scientific theory of the universe, and it comes from the fact that the universe is expanding, and science came to the conclusion that it's expanding from somewhere, from a very small particle, because otherwise why would it be expanding? They just rolled it back all the way. But if you go a little bit further, because they say it started from a small particle, but if you go and roll it more back, you will get to nothingness. So in this scenario, if you roll back enough, you will come to nothingness, okay? And the second theory, which is the creation, as per the Old Testament in the Bible, if you roll that one back enough, you also get to nothingness. That's actually what it says. So what it really means, that the default of everything was nothingness. I say was, it still is, but we'll get to it, okay? It's very important to remember that. And I'll show you a short video here about nothingness. It's not my video. It's only 3 minutes or so. Somebody else created it. The person is not reachable anymore. I tried to connect with the producer of that video. It doesn't reply. It was done a few years ago. It's the most amazing video about nothingness I've ever seen. And I did lots of searching and research, and I couldn't find anything except this one video. And an interesting thing there, if you ever watch this video on YouTube, I'll put a link in the comments here and at the bottom of the description. But about a year ago, in the comments, somebody put a comment in there that says, "Hello, Shlomo." I tried to reply to it, but nobody answered back. But somebody actually said, "Hello, Shlomo." So I guess somebody watched it and knew that I'm watching it too. Anyway, here it is, okay? Enjoy. Oh.
No matter where you look, you see something. From a fly on a horse, to the dust on your car, and even the stars in the sky. It's all something. But have you ever thought to yourself what it would be like if there was nothing? It's a question that's played with my mind for many years. What is nothing? Let's start with its definition to make sure we all understand what we are up against. Nothing, a pronoun. Not anything, no single thing. According to modern physics, there are 3 spatial dimensions and a single time dimension which governs everything in the universe. Therefore, by definition, nothing implies the absence of these dimensions. No space and no time. Some mind-bending questions that I ask myself. Is it possible to understand what nothing would truly look like? Why is there anything to begin with? Why does the universe and everything before it exist? What if it didn't? If the universe is finite, is there nothing past its boundaries? Let's begin by asking ourselves, is it possible to imagine what nothing is? My short answer, no, it's not. Let me explain why. In order to comprehend anything, we first need to be able to imagine it, meaning a visualization needs to be created inside our minds. But what if there's nothing to visualize? The closest thing to nothing that can be imagined is space. Just like the sky we see at night, space is a 3D spatial dimension which lacks any substance. Even though there are no particles inside space, we can still visualize it because it has dimension to it. We see it as a black void of emptiness. However, space is still something. It is not nothing. To be able to see nothing, you would have to visualize what the absence of dimension would look like, and that is just not possible. No matter how hard you try, it doesn't matter if you picture a black space, a white space, or any other color, it is still something. It is fundamentally impossible to imagine nothing. It's pretty interesting. Let's question some more. So why is there anything to begin with, and why couldn't there just be nothing? I think this is the craziest question of all time. The idea is so immensely difficult to convey, the absolute absence of everything. Why is there such a thing as space? Why is there progression with time? Were they created at some point? Furthermore, is there a start to something? And if so, was there nothing before there was something? So let's just say there was nothing before there was something, meaning there was a starting point to anything and everything that we see around us. Is this possible? In my opinion, no. Contrary to the popular saying, you can't make something out of nothing. Therefore, if there was nothing at some point, there would always be nothing. But even that is a bad way of explaining it because always implies the progression of time. But with nothing, there is no such thing as time. There is no progression, and therefore, no matter what, there is no concept of change. So, by using that logic, there always had to be something before there was something else. There is no possible way for it to have a starting point. Therefore, no matter how far back you go, there always had to be something. That means there was no starting point. What could be a possibility? Hopefully you take some time to question these ideas and let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Okay, see that we're coming back to the wrong screen. All right, I hope you enjoyed that, and there are, I think, a couple hundred comments there, and most people say that it kind of gave them a shock to the mind watching this video. But I'll tell you, like he said there, that it's impossible to make something out of nothing, and I'll show you today that it is actually possible. And this is what the secret is all about, right? So what I want to do with you, I want to do a 1 minute, roughly 1 minute, I don't have a timer, meditation on nothingness. Try to close your eyes and imagine that there is nothing. You are in a coma or whatever, and all there is just your consciousness. And towards the end of it, try to figure out what can you do in such a situation. Okay? So let's go into this meditation right now. All right, now try to imagine still being there. What can you make or create in such a situation? And I think that basically the answer is nothing. The only thing you can create is in your imagination, in your mind. There is no physical way to create anything if you have no five senses, right? But you can dream, you can imagine, you can think. And by the way, there is a big dispute between science and spirituality about what creates what, right? It's a materialism against idealism, whether the mind creates consciousness or consciousness creates the mind. So obviously, you know, my take is that consciousness creates everything. There is no mind. It's all kind of a dream, simulation, call it whatever. We'll get to it. So now, imagine that the programmer is in this kind of a meditation, right? Could he or it, or call it whatever you like, create something in there? The answer is no. Definite no. Okay? And if you ask me, okay, how can you say definite no for God? My answer would be, again, subjective, is that everything I'm telling you actually comes from the programmer, okay? And I'm supposed to tell you that. So I'm not coming here to dispute God. All I'm saying is that this is what God told me to tell you, okay? So God cannot create anything in this situation. The only thing God can do, the only thing the programmer can do, is imagine, dream. And everything you have here is this dream, okay? Now, of course, it underlines and emphasizes the programmer's greatness, like I said earlier, to come up with something like this out of nothing. But this is the thing with the programmer. It's an infinite intelligence in this consciousness. And we are fragments of it. So you have the same thing. Just like I showed in my last video, I think with the DVD with the Office program from Microsoft that has all the different versions in it. It's only a key is required to activate any one of them. You are the same way. Now, there is an insurmountable problem, even for God. And again, this is what I was shown. And that's actually the secret hidden on the surface. Because God cannot create that reality even in his imagination. And I'll explain in a minute. He can, but he is running into a problem that has no solution. And the only solution is to either create an effect in our mind, a block, so we don't see it, or hide it from us. And God decided to hide it. And he hid it actually on the surface, right in front of our eyes, because this is where we never look. And what he hid is the secret I'm going to talk about. Okay? Do you remember the short video at the very beginning with the infinity paradox? You see, everything that's matter that is created in nothingness, okay, I'm not saying from nothingness, but even in nothingness is not correct, because there is no in nothingness. Nothingness is nothingness. There is no in. But I have to use this language just to explain. But keep in mind that there is no in nothingness. There is no such thing. Nothingness is nothingness, okay? Just as he showed in the video very, very well. So if you were to create any kind of material reality when you are in nothingness, it would not be possible. Because where would you put the boundary of it? It would have to be infinite. The thing is that infinity is not possible in material reality. It's an illusion. There is no such thing as infinity. It cannot be. Okay? Because infinity basically implies, and this is where actually religion kind of brainwashed us to accept it, that God can do it. No, God cannot do it. Infinity implies that this universe goes forever, and there is always other objects and stars and galaxies, and it goes forever. That's not possible. Okay? This is an illusion. It's an illusion that was created in this dream because God could not hide it. Like as soon as he created, and I'll give you some demonstrations here with a couple of videos and pictures so you understand what I'm talking about, okay? The reason, for example, scientifically, that the universe is expanding, and it's expanding at the speed, apparently, according to science lately, faster than the speed of light. And the reason for it is very simple. Our limitation is the speed of light. So that means that we can never reach that wall that Truman reached in the video, right? It's not possible, because if the universe expands faster than light and we can only go at the speed of light, well, we can never catch up. It's like trying to chase an airplane. You cannot. And this is done because it's part of that program to hide it from you, okay? Okay, so as I said earlier, God had two options, either block our mind or hide it. So he hid it. And I'll read to you a little paragraph here that Rabbi Isaac Luria, who lived in the 1500s, so that's the 16th century, and what is said about, he actually interpreted the Kabbalah. Before that, nobody could understand the Kabbalah. He interpreted the whole Kabbalah. And his interpretation is the one standing today for all the religious, for the Jewish, for all the Jews, his interpretation is actually the Kabbalah. And though his short name was Arizal, and it says, though the Arizal only lived for 38 years, he died when he was 30 years old, he possessed a phenomenal soul, and all secrets of the creation were open to him. And this is what he said in one of his writings. He said that when it arose in the divine will to create the infinite world, the first step was to withdraw or to conceal the infinite, or the Ein Sof, which is in Hebrew means infinite. Okay? That with no end. That's what he said back in the 16th century. So let's see what is this infinity paradox, and I will again come back to my analogies and metaphors so we can slowly comprehend it. Okay? Let's assume that you decided to simulate the solar system on a computer, which is, it's a doable thing. People do it today. I mean, I'm sure that universities and higher level people that have powerful computers, they can do it. And let's equate that to dreaming, like God dreamed and he created the beings in there. And here we will do it on the computer. Part of it is doable, part of it is imagination, okay? So I'll switch over here to my drawing board. And there we go. And you see this is, say, a simulation of the solar system on a computer. Now imagine that we somehow possess the ability to insert living creatures here. Let's say this is Earth here. So we manage to insert living creatures on Earth. Okay? Now I'm in the wrong thing. You don't see my drawing. Let me just give me a second. I will come back. There we go. So I drew here in yellow a living creature. This is Earth, and we have some living creatures on it that we created in the simulation. Okay? Just imagine that we are God and we can actually create life in this simulation. All right. So now we want these living creatures to believe that they live on this thing and this is the reality, physical reality. We don't want them to know that we created them in a computer. But we have a little problem here. Where do we put the border of their reality? Right? Where do we put it? Do we put it here? Or do we put it here? Or do we put it here? Wherever we put it, what will happen will be the same like what happened with Truman, right? With Jim Carrey. When he discovered all of a sudden, because he went, director there, who was his God, right? He created that artificial reality, virtual reality, so his TV people could watch this show. It went on for I don't know for how long. This is what the movie is all about. But he found out, right? Because they tried to scare him not to go into the water. You saw that cannon ball that was shot and all that to scare him so he doesn't go there. But he did go there, and then he hit the wall. So in our situation here, right, we're going to have the same problem. They're going to hit the wall. So where would you put the wall? And what the programmer did, he put the wall in such a way that you cannot find it. It looks infinite. And it was easy for the programmer to create this because he didn't have to really physically create all those planets and stars and galaxies. This is only in your mind, in the programmer's mind, and by default in your mind. Okay? And this is how we dealt with this infinity paradox. All right. let's watch the. So in the I'll put the Truman Show again without the last part, just the clip itself. So now you can look at it with some more understanding and try to comprehend how that is a metaphor for what the programmer had to do and how we, hopefully today, actually hit that wall, even though not physically, in our mind. Okay? So, let's go back into it. There we go.
I want to talk to him.
There you go. So what Truman did there, we are actually, as I said, doing it today, but not physically. We didn't get to the edge of the universe, but we actually brought the secret to the surface, and it will have, like I said, it will spread like the COVID, and it will have two effects. And one of them is that it will wake up God, because he planted that there also for himself. So when it comes, when it's discovered, this is a trigger, like I said earlier, this is a trigger that will actually bring God back to realize that he is God, because during this period, in order to experience this reality, this physical reality, he could not remember that he is God. Otherwise, he couldn't experience it. and I use usually the prison metaphor, right? That if you wanted to experience prison, and you had a friend high in the government that can put you in a prison for a week just so you can experience it, you would not really experience the prison knowing that you'll be out of there whenever you like, right? But if you are flying to China and the airplane landed in North Korea, and they would come up, the police in North Korea would come up there on the plane, calling your name and drag you off the plane, and then accuse you of espionage and throw you into hard labor jail for 25 years, you would experience the prison for sure, like real, right? So this is the difference. And the same works for God, for the programmer. In order for the programmer to experience this reality, he cannot know that he's God, otherwise he cannot experience it. You know, so this is the prison I'm talking about. So you get the point, right? And the idea was that once humans discover this trigger, it will actually wake up God as well, because he experiences everything through us. Okay? So that's the first effect, and it's a huge one. And the second effect is that whoever can comprehend this and get it and believe in it will change forever. You will not be the same person anymore. Okay? And that will obviously change the reality here as we know it. It's a matter of time again. It's going back to the COVID, it started with one person in China, and it took a while before everybody got sick, right? So here we're not going to get sick, it's the opposite, but the concept is the same. All right. So what does it all mean? Like, you and I guess we get this whole concept, we get the whole idea, and we say, okay, so what does it mean? I have a friend that always says, does it make money? So I'll tell you what it means, a few of the points it means, and what it really means will come up over time. That's why I created this channel on YouTube, because I needed people like you to join here to be the seed and expand from there, right? But it means, for example, that everything that you have learned to date is basically meaningless. Whether it's physics or religion or philosophy, it's all meaningless, okay? It means that there is a programmer, for sure, like there's no more, like maybe, whatever, okay? It means that we live in a kind of an organic simulation, I would call it, because it's not really a simulation, but it's an organic simulation, because it's a living simulation. It means that everything is possible. It means that you never really die, right? It means that there are rules and purpose to this reality. As I said before, the possibilities are endless, because as on that line I drew earlier on the iPhone, right? You can draw anything on that iPhone you want, because you are that consciousness, you are a fragment of it. It basically, this knowledge, again, once it sinks in, it transcends that line that I used to show you. I'll just quickly come back to it. Remember, I drew a line like that, and I said everything that's under the line is possible, and everything that's over the line is impossible. Okay? Okay, possible. My writing is not that great. And I said that if you wanted to achieve any of these things, you have to bring them under the line. And knowing what I just said here, again, it has to sink in, basically takes that line away. Okay, so you should be able to do almost anything once you get that. All right. Basically, from here, it's all up to you. You know, I many times use this analogy here. I don't think I ever used it on a video, but I use it with when I talk in person with people. Is I say that people that are spiritual, and my definition of spiritual is not what you would find in the dictionary. My definition of spiritual is somebody who can use the sixth sense, that can feel and know that there is something out in addition to the five senses. That's a spiritual person for me. So anybody who is spiritual, I compare it to a diamond. And then, you know, diamonds, you know how diamonds are created. There's tremendous pressure of billions of tons of earth sitting on top of carbon, right? And eventually, over thousands of years, it forms the diamond. But once the diamond is formed, the earth, this whole billion of tons, is not necessary anymore. It did its job. So when the miners go and dig for diamonds, they don't take the earth, they only take the diamond. And the same applies for people. You see, the people who are spiritual and people who are connected, they could not be that way if it wasn't for the people that are not connected, because that's what formed us. But once it's done, okay, all you want is the diamonds. And this is where we are today. And you can take it wherever you like, but that's how I see it. One more thing I wanted to say here, because many people ask, and it's usually the science-oriented people, is, okay, so what created God? Where does God come from? And the answer for that is that God doesn't come from anywhere and was never created. Same as nothingness was always nothingness. The consciousness we call programmer God was always there, together with the nothingness, in the nothingness, out of whichever way you want to put it at this stage. But it was always there. Nothing created it. So if you accept that nothingness was always there, there's no reason why you cannot accept that the consciousness was always there. Okay? Now, back to this reality here. I created a Facebook group for this book, From Nothingness to Infinity and Everything in Between. And I would be happy to see you there. I will insert the link in the description here. And you are more than welcome to connect with me personally. You know, I have my email and phone number on every social media site. I don't play these privacy games, like I said earlier. And actually, no, I said that on the Facebook video that I did a couple days ago. So I don't play, you know, I don't play privacy games. I don't have privacy. I don't believe that, you know, I'm that important that if I put my phone number on YouTube, you know, I'm gonna get calls. Nobody's gonna waste time unless they want something serious from me, right? So I don't see this point of privacy. So you can, you are more than welcome to connect with me, email, any messenger or anything. If you have any questions, you want any help to comprehend, to understand this. And okay, so please let me know what you think. I really, you know, value your feedback, because by myself, I'm only like, just like that psychic said, I'm alone and I don't want to be alone. And that's why I'm coming to you. So all the best to you, and we'll see you in my next video. Be interesting now what video I'm going to come up next. All the best.